Hello and welcome back to Mrs. P's Prose. Thank you for joining me. Last week we read chapters 1 and 2 of the Women Who Broke the Rules series with SoniaSotomayor. This week we'll be reading chapters 3 and 4, and next week we'll finish off with chapters 5 and 6. So let's get started. This book is broken into 6 chapters. Last week I read chapter 1, Hot Pepper, and chapter 2, Making Choices. Today I will read chapter 3, Alice in Wonderland, and chapter 4, More Hot Pepper. We will finish off next week with chapter 5, Bursting Barriers, and chapter 6, An Electric Current. From the Women Who Broke the Rules series, SoniaSotomayor. I'll be the judge of that. Written by Kathleen Kroll, illustrated by Angela Dominguez. Chapter 3, Alice in Wonderland. Luckily, Sonia also loved the leafy campus of Princeton University in the town of Princeton, New Jersey. She was so jazzed to be offered a full scholarship that she splurged on a new coat, a white raincoat with fake fur trim. But college nearly knocked her flat. Part of the problem was that she'd rarely been out of a big city. At first, she couldn't tell a cow from a horse. What were those creepy chirps outside her dorm's window? Someone eventually told her about crickets. Partly, it was how much harder her classes were. Shocked? To receive a C on her first paper, she realized her basic skills needed work. It was all so strange. I felt like an alien landing in a different universe, she said. In 1972, there were only a few Latino students and no Latino professors or staff. Women were greatly outnumbered, too. For all these reasons, Sonia spent her first year too embarrassed to ask questions. Fear of failing drove her to work feverishly. Her hangout became Princeton's magnificent library. She mastered 10 new words a day. She memorized grade school grammar books to make sure her writing followed the rules of English, not Spanish. She'd never been to a bookstore before, but she found her local Barnes & Noble and bought Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. She'd never heard of it until that year, and other classics. She also accepted help from a professor who offered to teach her how to think, not just memorize. She majored in history but took all kinds of classes. Now she earned almost all A's. Her worst ordeal was a psychology lab. It required her to hold rats. With her fear of creepy, crawly things, she screamed and ran out of the room, but she still managed to get a good grade. She blossomed, going from being shy to speaking out. Ironically, it was on this mostly all-white campus that she found her Puerto Rican roots. She co-chaired an organization working for more opportunity for Puerto Rican students. Princeton's president began turning to Sonia for advice on Latino issues. He went on to hire its first Latino administrator and professor. She still wanted to be a lawyer, maybe even a judge. One day she read about something she'd never heard of, the Supreme Court. These were the most important judges in the land, 9 scholars in long black robes, all men, of course. They ruled on the hardest cases. And she found out how you become a judge in any court. It's not a job you can apply for. When you're very old, you can get appointed or nominated. Tricky. She got her first taste of judging as part of a panel that gave penalties for stolen library books, cheating, rowdiness, and the like. For her combination of strong grades and outside activities, she was awarded the highest prize a student can win at graduation. Her work had paid off, and she was closer to her goals. But you can't be a lawyer without going to law school, and law school was hard. Chapter 4, More Hot Pepper? First, Sonia married her boyfriend, Kevin, on his way to becoming a biologist. Then, in 1976, she entered law school. Yale University gave her a full scholarship. She studied nonstop, breaking rarely to play with their dog, Star. Her classmates were mostly wealthy. She seemed older and more mature than they were, perhaps because of her difficult childhood or because she was married. But in her first year, she was still often frightened and didn't raise her hand. The lack of bathrooms didn't help. Having the women's bathrooms be such a long walk away was a constant reminder that Yale was one of the first law schools to admit women. Once she found her footing, Sonia was as outspoken as ever. One professor called her extremely warm and very tough, an unusually brainy student even in this brainy group. Not everyone approved. Some accused her of arguing like a man. She didn't hesitate or apologize the way women were expected to. Like the other law students, she tried to line up a job while still in school. Her quest didn't go well. At one firm, she felt insulted. The interviewer said that she had gotten into Yale only because she was Puerto Rican, ignoring her stellar record at Princeton. Sonia was angry enough to fight back. She filed a complaint, and the law firm was ordered to apologize. Then came the night of the free cheddar cheese cubes. Curious, not to mention hungry, she was lured into a meeting room. The New York District Attorney was recruiting Yale students for public service jobs. She stayed to talk, and he called her the next day. Would Sonia like to be an assistant district attorney, someone who works for the government in criminal cases? Others warned her that she'd make no money in public service compared to private practice, but money was never her dream. This offer was too spine-tingling to pass up. Out of this random meeting over cheese and crackers came her first job. Sonia pounced at the chance to be back in New York City in 1979, fighting a wave of crimes. She was one of the ducklings, the newbies. She had 100 cases on her desk at a time, working from 7 in the morning until 10 at night. She started off handling petty offenses, disorderly conduct, minor assault, graffiti. It was her job to prove that the people on trial really had shoplifted or trespassed. Just weeks after she started, she was the first in her group of ducklings to have a case go to trial. She lost that case, but won her second. Then she moved up to working on more serious crimes, like murder. One day, Sonia discovered a kind of superpower. She realized that she could use emotion, not just facts, in her arguments. She saw how helpful it was in persuading people. It meant she had to pay attention with a laser-like focus. She never lost a case again. Her first murder trial was about a man known as the Tarzan murderer. He swung into apartments through windows and then robbed and murdered people. She won, and he was sentenced to 67 years in prison. In her 4 years on this job, she broke rules women were supposed to follow. Some male lawyers assumed she was a secretary in the courtroom to type up notes. She learned to never let on that she knew how to type. Some may have wanted to use her old nickname, Hot Pepper. They called her tough and ruthless. They were simply not used to seeing a woman argue in court, especially one with her intense focus. She reacted by trying to keep her sense of humor and balance. Working such long hours left her with little time for salsa dancing, baseball games, or her marriage. She and Kevin ended up divorcing. By 1983, it was time for a change. Join me again next week when we complete our book with the final chapters, Chapter 5, Bursting Barriers, and Chapter 6, An Electric Current. I really hope you enjoyed part 2 of the Women Who Broke the World series with SoniaSotomayor. I'll be the judge of that. And that you will join me again next week on Mrs. P's Prose to complete the chapter book, Chapters 5 and 6 of SoniaSotomayor's biography. And then after that, we will have other wonderful stories to share. One final note, if you have missed prior videos or would like to see them again, please go to my YouTube channel and type in Emily Salty-Gerald-Demar. I'll have that posted at the end of this video so you know how it's spelled out in one word. And feel free to just go in there and rewatch the videos and share this information with your friends so that we can get more people to watch Mrs. P's Prose. And I will join you again next week. Bye-bye. Don't forget to wash your hands.